Hello and welcome to the Queen's Couch Podcast with our amazing host, Dr. Tanika Victoria. She curates a space for women where all women are encouraged to collaborate and do not collide. Join us on the couch tonight. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of the Queen's Couch. I am so excited to have our special guest with us tonight. Her name is Tabatha Thornell. She's a mom of five incredible girls, a speaker, best-selling author, co-author, a business and life coach. She's also a podcaster, real estate investor with almost 2 decades of experience. That is amazing within itself. And she started her journey in fitness coaching about 16 years ago alongside her high school sweetheart, which is her husband, and they're navigating this real estate world. So, Tabitha, tell us a little bit about yourself and welcome to the Queen's Couch.
Well, first, thank you so much to Nico for inviting me to come on here. I'm excited to share with you. And whenever anybody reads my intro, I'm always like, I do all those things. I think as women, we just put on a lot of hats and we just do it. And then you're like, oh, I guess I do those things. So yeah, you pretty much said it all. I mean, my husband and I started investing in real estate when we were college. He took the brunt of the investments initially, and I helped design, and we got renters in there, and we just hit the ground running when I was 19 and he was 21. We saw ourselves getting married and having a family, and we knew that real estate was going to give us retirement because we weren't going to rely on the government. We knew that we were entrepreneurs and we weren't going to have a 9 to 5 for any sort of security with benefits and all that stuff. We weren't going to rely on that. So we're like, hey, let's take our future in our own hands and do this real estate stuff. He had seen his dad and helped build his dad's rental empire since he was 15. And so he'd kind of seen the ropes and he was like, okay, I'm going to do this. And so we dove in. And then when we got married, I knew that I wanted to be a hands-on mom and I wanted to be the dominant voice in their life. And so I didn't want to have to drop them off at daycare for 8 to 12 hours a day to pursue something I wasn't sure of. So I was a stay-at-home mom, but I'm very driven and I wanted a better financial situation for our family and I wanted to make impact. So I said, okay, I had a degree in marriage and family studies. I wasn't going to pursue that degree to a master's program because I didn't see the benefit. Marriages were still breaking up, even if they went to therapy. I just didn't see it as a way I could really impact. So we moved back to my husband's hometown and I became a fitness instructor and absolutely loved it. Then I had some babies and still was in the fitness world. Actually got involved with a network marketing company, which I was so against sales. I can't even tell you. Like, I was the person who avoided the shoe salesman when I was in high school because it made me so uncomfortable. Right. So I wanted nothing to do with sales. But what I did love is I loved the product and I loved the income opportunity that I could do it while raising my kids. And so I said, okay, I'm going to do this. And because I had influence in that space, I rose to a leadership level pretty high. And then they sent us, this company had amazing leadership. And so we got sent to like seminars and around other, 7-figure earners. And I fell in love with the world of personal development. I had never been exposed to that before. And so when I saw that, I was like, oh, I'm home. Like, I don't know if you've ever experienced that, Taniko, but it's like when you feel something, like you just know it, like makes your heart, it's like you stay up late to study it and you wake up early to study. And I never experienced that before. My sleep is very important to me. So if I was sacrificing sleep, I must have loved it. And so I did, I loved everything about it. And I was with that company and I kept pursuing and working on building that. And I don't know, Taniko, if you've ever had this, but I'm a believer. So God whispers some stuff in my ear. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that's cute. Like, okay, yeah, I'm just going to keep going. And then he kind of whispers a little bit louder and then little bit louder. And he kept bringing me to this place of I need to build my own thing, like my own business, whatever, company, whatever. I didn't know what that was. And so I was so petrified because I told you before, like I did not have a business degree. I didn't know nothing about marketing, nothing about sales, because network marketing is different. And that sales, like they take care of all that. I didn't know how to like employ people and employment tax. And I was scared of all the stuff. And so I'm like, I don't want to do this. But I kept this prompting. I'm like, okay, if I really want to make an impact in finances in my family, I need to do this. So I need to hire a coach. I knew that much. I knew that mentorship and coaching, I could not do this alone. So I bought my first 5-figure program, and I was like, or not five, excuse me, it was 5,000. My first 4-figure program, I'll get to the 5 one later, but like this was like already like, so like, oh my gosh, I can't do these. But what it did is it gave me confidence. And then I did what they told me to do. And so I was successful, and I was like, okay, this is great. And then I did probably what every entrepreneur does. I tried to learn everything I possibly could about sales and marketing and do everything myself and wear all the hats. And I was fumbling over confusion and fumbling over market space and like all that stuff. And so I was like, okay, what do I love to do? I loved fitness, but more than that, I loved helping families build wealth, like whatever that looked like for them. Because I knew for me, even what an extra couple $100 a month can do, let alone thousands, and to paint that vision for people and to help them with that. I loved that. So I was like, how can I do that? So I launched a one-on-one program with like personal development and then business development. And we all know what happened in 2020. And for us, it necessarily wasn't COVID. It was the fact that I got pregnant with our 4th daughter. And I said, okay, what do I really want to do here? Because we had 3 daughters before, and we were pregnant with number 4. And then shortly after baby number 4, I was pregnant with number 5. And so in all of that time frame, we were building our real estate wealth. We were buying properties and doing things like that. But myself, like my business, I was just a little bit lost. I didn't know my skill set, like, how, all of those things. And so that was what like 2020 till about mid last year was for me, was just really figuring out the audience I wanted to serve, how I wanted to serve them, what I want to do. My husband and I had talked about doing a program where we help families buy income properties and build wealth, and then like success principles for kids so that you can gift that to your kids, and they can, for generations to come, build that wealth and build the characteristics around impact. And we had talked about it a lot. And so finally at the end of last year, I was like, we're doing this. Like, we're going to do this. I blamed it on my husband long enough. I kept saying, oh, if you just do it with me. I said, I'm doing it with or without you. Like, we're doing this. And I'd also toyed with doing a podcast. And the end of last year, I'm like, I'm doing this. I'm doing a podcast. I'm going to get on as many as I can. And I just was truly decided, like, this is, no matter what, this is the path. And like, I'm just going to go, and I'm just going to trust God's going to put the breadcrumbs, and I'm going to pick it up along the way. And that's what we've done.
It's totally amazing. And you said some key things that you just did it. God whispered some things to you and you did it. But there were some things that you had to develop about yourself. So talk about that piece that you had to develop. God gave you this vision, God gave you this plan, and you knew without a shadow of a doubt that it really was God. But what were some processes that you had to do? Because a lot of times we get these visions and we don't know what we're going to do with them. So what was that process like from 2020 to last year, you kind of finding all the pieces to make this vision come to pass that God has given you?
So I kind of felt like Joseph in the Bible, where like God told him in a vision, like, hey, you're going to be great. And then he tells everybody, and then like his brothers throw him in the pit. Like, because God has shown me some amazing things. And honestly, I'm a small town girl. I live in a town of 400 people, y'all. Like, it's small. We have more cows than people. So like, it's rural Nebraska, and I love it. But big things don't happen here. And what I mean by big things, I mean, like 7-figure, 8-figure earners, fame, like that kind of stuff. Like, it just doesn't. Warren Buffett lives in a town 4 hours from me, but that's about as close as we get to like, fame and fortune. So when I would see these visions, it was like, I would see them and I'd be like, oh, but I'm not worthy of that because I don't fit the mold. Or like, how could I actually earn $1 million or build a business like that? Or who would ever want to listen to me? I'm a girl who was told to shut up, be quiet, sit still ever since I was little. So like all of those negative thoughts, which I know if your audience is women on here, like we have those thoughts. And I just had to shift it from, okay, I have those thoughts. You can't say don't have negative thoughts because then that's all you have. Okay. So I'd be like, okay, I have those. But what if I had positive thoughts too? Because in world of science and everything, with every opposite, there's another opposite, right? So if there's good, there's bad. If there's this, there's that. So if there's bad thoughts, there has to be good thoughts. So I always just said, like, but what if it could be? Like, what if I could earn 7 figures in my business and raise my kids and have an amazing marriage and have great health? Like, but what if that was possible? And just that little belief, and I would have to tell myself that over and over. And what if when you're on a podcast, people actually listen to you? What if people actually tune in and follow you for that? Like, but what if they do? And so I just had to make that narrative louder. I heard a quote from Matthew McConaughey. He said, you have two wolves that live inside of you. Your job is to feed the one of the positive and neglect the one of the negative. And it's like we always feed the negative and we find proof that the negative is true because we want to be right. So if you truly want a path of significant success, abundance, then you have to tell yourself that is the truth because then you'll prove yourself right. But so many times, because of past experiences, and I lived in lack growing up and scarcity. My family was very blue collar. My mom had an autoimmune disease, so we had medical bills all the time. My dad worked sometimes 16-hour days, 7 days a week. Like lack and scarcity was all I knew. Hard work was all I knew. But by hard work, it was working the body, working, like just do more hours, do more, trade your time for money. That was all I knew. So when I became into this world of personal development, it was like God knew what I could process. And over the years, he was like, you need to process your self-worth first. And then I'm going to put the money piece into it. Because if I give you the money without the self-worth, first of all, you're never going to accept it and you're probably going to self-sabotage and never be able to build that company up, which actually happened to Tony Robbins, by the way. Number two, you won't even believe it and you'll squander it away and then you'll prove yourself right. So I had to become worthy as a woman. Like I know my worth, and not that my worth is on things or like I have to wear Prada or whatever, but I'd almost not wear those things out of like pride. Like I don't need to wear a name brand. I don't need to have a Gucci bag. Like who do you think it's almost like prideful in the other way, because secretly I really wanted those luxury items, but I didn't know how I could receive them. And I didn't think I was worthy of them because I was the kid from like, my mom would get stuff from like Goodwill, or like we'd only get I had to earn the money to get that starter jacket in the 90s. Like, it was like blood, sweat, and tears, right? And so I had to find my worth. And that was the journey for me. And anybody listening on here, if you have any emotion around money, I encourage you to go for your worth. Like God did not make money for only the worthy. He did not make money evil. He did not make money scarce. He did not make money so that you could long over it and do shady things over it. He made money as a tool. And he made influence and impact as a way. Now, as a society, we have such a great way that we can earn money by impacting other people and loving on people and helping other people succeed. Like no time in history has that ever happened. You always had to have like a good, right? Like you had to have the frankincense or you had to have the woven basket like to sell. Now it's like we can help people. And because of that, people will give us their money and we can help them succeed. And so I had to look at money completely different. I had to find mentorship and people that were smarter than me. I had to be in rooms. I had to pay 5 figures to be in rooms with other people who were earning 7 and 8 figures because I said they think differently. My best thinking got me here, and I'm grateful for that. But I am not going to stay here because I am meant for more. God has shown me more, and God has shown you more. Tanika, He's showed your audience more. They have gifts and talents that they are not using because somebody told them it wasn't good. Somebody told them they weren't worthy of it, that they were worth less, that money will make you evil, money will make you shady, money will make you do bad things. That bag isn't worth $1,000. Well, is it? Or isn't it? It's a bag. It's worth whatever it's worth to you. And if it's special to you and it makes you feel special and good, and you have the money and you do the work to get the money to help the people that buy the bag, then buy the bag. Don't worry about what other people think. The way that you view things is the way how you view everything. And don't justify why you want something. Just want it and be okay with it.
And I think that's so true. As women, just as you said, you have to change your emotions about money. And I think I had this money coach once, and he was talking about, it's like you touch the stove and then you don't want to go back. So sometimes you may grow up seeing someone tall and they have this dream and they don't accomplish it. And you
Yep.
may not think that's even going to do anything to the way you view money, but it really has made an imprint on the way you feel like you have this scarcity mentality, like you're not going to have enough. And
Right.
so you want to hold on to things. And I always tell people, you have to sometimes spend money to make money. Sometimes you have to get in rooms, and that may cost you money, but having a coach or developing yourself in a way that you want to get to the next level is so important. And so I'm glad that you said one key thing. You said knowing your self-worth first, that personal development before you get the money is very important, because if you don't know who you are, you'll feel guilty for being able to have things or afford
Yep.
things because other people can't. But God called us to be in a place of wealth. He called you to have these visions and these dreams. And so sometimes it takes unlearning all the things that we thought were right to get to where we need to get. And so as women, what would you tell that mom? You said you made the decision, I want to be the very important voice in my children's lives. So you set yourself up in a way that you were able to do that. What would you say to a mom who wants to help her family, be a support to her husband, and make this goal or dream a reality? What would you say to her?
You have to work on you first. So, whatever that is, if you're not where you want to be, that doesn't mean you're bad. That doesn't mean that you're not worthy of it. That just means you are where you are. And looking at that in a non judgmental way so that you can move forward. And that was hard for me because I'm very hard on myself, as I think most women are. You're not pretty enough. You don't have the right background. You're not skinny enough. You're not this, you're too young, you're too old, you're this, you're that, right? So like we're really hard on ourselves because that keeps us comfortable. Even if that comfort is lack, there's comfort in that if that's all you've ever known. So the unknown, you think of it like anxiety and anticipation. That emotion is the same. It's excitement. In your body, the way that you process it is the same. Or I shouldn't say process it, that the way that the emotion works is the same. The way you process it is different. So anticipation is I anticipate because I'm excited of the potential outcome, that it's going to be good. Okay, because we don't know yet, right?
Mhm.
Anxiety is an anticipation, but looking at the outcome that it could be negative and working it up. So it's the story that we tell ourselves. So anytime I feel myself getting anxious, I immediately switch. Nope, I'm going to anticipate. What good can come of this?
Mhm.
Because the anticipation is going to help my mind find the good in it, even if there's bad. Guys, I lost my sister in 2018 from addiction. I lost my mom when I was in 2015 because of an illness slash addiction. Like those things were hard. And you're going through some hard things. I had to anticipate them not being in my life as a blessing. And I'm not going to get into grief. And I've never lost a child, so I might be singing a different tune if it was someone of that or my spouse. But I made the choice to look at things for good because the Bible tells me that God does good for me. He says it in so many different verses. I'm not going to quote the verses, but like he says it so much. Everything is for his children, which we are. And if you're a believer, you're a child. is for good. I will make good from ashes. Ashes meaning bad, burnt, horrible things. So if you are a mom, I urge you, whatever area, if it's finances, if it's body, if it's mind, if you feel like you're yelling at your kids all the time, or you're exhausted and frustrated and negative, and maybe you don't make love to your husband anymore, and like all this stuff is just icky, and you just want to take a bath, right? Like we've all been there. I've been there. You have to look and say, okay, God, give me one next step. I have a vision of this amazing life, and I know that it's meant for me, but like I need to work here. And so with money, we're speaking on money here because money, again, is a tool. It's a feeling that you have of lack. So I was a big like time. Like my husband worked a lot, my dad worked a lot. So I felt like this sense of urgency all the time because there wasn't enough time, and I was trading my time for money. My husband was trading time for money. And because you do that, you form emotion around the money because it's not about the money, it's about the time. And we all know we only have so much time, and we don't know how much time. So that sense of uncertainty is what brings the emotion to money. But when you view money differently, like how can I, gain money and receive money, and not look at it like not even gaining, like how can I receive money and how can I release money? Instead of cost and giving and like those terms, I use how can I release money into the world, whether that's goods and services, if it's somebody that, I get out of the sun here. If I can give somebody, release money to them, and they can help me with my laundry or my kids or doing the crappy housework that I don't want to do. And then I get time to work on a business to help other people. So I get to do what I love, which enjoy, and I can be on podcasts and do those things. So that brings me joy. So it doesn't just bring me money, it brings me joy. Okay. Cause it's not all about money. And it helps me with my patience and my kindness because I'm away from my kids for a little bit, but not all the time. I'm still the dominant voice in them, but I gain those things because I'm away doing the things I'm called to do, and I can come back being a better mom. But we hold ourselves to, I have to do it all. I have to be it all. I have to be a 24/7 mom all the time because otherwise, whatever. There are people in your life that are gifted and would be blessed if you allowed them to come into your children's life. Now, you have to be selective and really know that. But there are people that want to help you. It takes a village to raise a child. In the Bible, oh my gosh, they had so many servants and what maids and all this stuff. But here and now in this society, we feel like as a mom, we have to do it all. I'm like, in the Bible, it talks about a Psalms 31 woman. Like she talks about her servants, like we need them. And I'm not saying servants, like pay them, but like employees, like people to help you, to serve with you, instead of servants looking at it like they serve with you of your purpose. And then your kids see it and you're present and you teach them those principles that, you know what, I know you'd love it if mommy was here 24/7, but I promise you'd probably get sick of me. And like, I'm going to have, Kelsey come in and like play games with you and do fun things. And then I get to come in and I get to play games and be refreshed, and your kids will see that. And it's hard because we want to do it all. Sometimes it's out of pride. Sometimes it's out of lack. Sometimes we think we don't have the resources. I used all of those excuses, ladies. So on here, my pride was so big. I was like, I'm going to prove I can do it all. Like, I'm going to wear the hat, everybody. Look at me. And I didn't. It burnt me out. It stifled my growth for my business. I can't believe how many people I would have served if I would have just lowered my pride and looked at my resources and said like, okay, this is like, who can help me? I had to ask for help, which was really hard for me. And that's a pride thing. So, all of these layers, we have to look in the mirror, and we have to look at it in no judgment. The reason why I had those things was because when I was little, I had to have them to survive. I was alone a lot because my siblings were gone on their things. My mom was sick. My dad worked. So I had to take care of me. And so I had to learn to entertain myself. I had to learn to do for me what I needed to do to survive. But I don't need that anymore. And so when I learned that, I forgave myself. Like, okay, you were prideful, but girl, like little Tab, we got you. Like we're going to work together and we're going to go, because you can't do it alone. You can't build a business alone. You can't have a marriage alone. You can't raise your kids alone. And you shouldn't want to. That's what a recluse is, and a hoarder. And like, who wants to be any of those people, you know? So, really finding that mentorship, finding a group of people, other people around you to literally daily show you the vision of like, this is what's possible. No more scarcity, no more lack. Don't stop blaming the finances, stop blaming the husband, stop blaming the kids. Like, you are enough and you are worthy enough to go forward in whatever dream that is. Sometimes it's not finances for people, but at the same time, I urge you, if you say it's not, to look in the mirror and say, but if you had $1,000,000 today, how could you bless other people? Are there organizations? Are there people you could bless in your family, outside of your family? What investments could you make for your children so that when you pass away, they're not left with just a whole bunch of debt? You know, looking beyond yourself. Because I think sometimes, especially if you have emotion with money, we think little and we think, I don't need all that. I just want to be comfortable. Well, I'm gonna say some things that might step on toes. I think you're selfish. If you just want to be comfortable, then you're selfish, because there are some people in the world, but even in the United States, they don't have the opportunities you have. They don't have the resources you have. They don't have the knowledge you have. They don't have those things, and you have them, and you're not using them to help those people and lift them up, like teach them how to fish, you know, and sometimes giving them the fish when they need to be given the fish and then teach them later, you know? So all of those things, they're biblical. Like they really are. I think it just is a way that we can stay comfortable in our own vulnerability, because we don't want to be vulnerable. We don't want to go out there. I was just thinking about this for my oldest daughter. I asked her a question. I said, "What's a goal for next year?" She's going to play volleyball. And she's like, "Well, I just want to get on the team." And I said, "You don't want to make varsity?" And she's like, "Well, I don't think I want to. I'm not my freshman year. That would be." And I said, "Okay, but if I could wave a magic wand right now and you could be on varsity, would you?" And she's like, "Well, yeah." I said, "Then let that be your goal." So it got me thinking, like, why wouldn't she want that as a goal? But I thought about it. The higher the goal, the more you want it. If you don't reach it, the disappointment and the heartache is harder. So if we just say, I don't really want to make $1,000,000, or I don't care about money, or I don't really want 10,000 followers. It's because the heartache, if we don't meet it,
Mm-hmm.
it's so hard. It's like falling in love with somebody. So it's like you fall in love with that goal and then you don't reach it. And then it's like despair. And it's like, instead of looking at that, like, I didn't meet that. How can I change that? How can I be better so I can reach that, or switch the goal to something else? But we put all our eggs in that basket and we have so much heart for it. And I know I've been there. I miss goals and I'm a competitive person. And so I live in that despair. So what are you not dreaming for? Or what goal are you not setting
Mm-hmm.
because you think the pain of not reaching it? And that's a belief. Because if you believed you could achieve it, you would dream it.
Yeah, that's true. I think sometimes we stay in comfortability because, as you mentioned, the hurt of not wanting to go after that goal. And I was listening to um, Jackie Green, and she was saying how she experienced this fall. Like she was going up this mountain, her and her husband asked her, "Are you okay?" And she was like, "I don't think I'm going to be okay." And she said, "Well, you need to keep up." And she fell off a cliff, and she experienced the greatest fall that she ever did. But she was telling this sermon, and she said, it's not about the fall, but it's what you learned in the fall. Maybe I wasn't ready for that, but I can still get back up and try again. But sometimes people are so afraid of the fall. They focus so much on, if I don't get the goal, if I don't reach it, what's going to happen? But if you're still alive, you can. There's so many
Yeah.
so many millionaires, 6, 7, that they failed, but they kept going. And that's sometimes the only difference between you and the person that gets their goal is you stop because of the disappointment of the failure. But that person looked at it as a lesson to regroup, to refocus. Okay, what do I need to do differently? And I'm still going to get this goal. And so I think That's a part of being scarcity, of a scarcity mindset, the fear of failure, because sometimes that used to grip me. So I wouldn't go. I remember when I first became a child care director. So I was a teacher, and so I was dating this guy at the time, and I was like, they got this position, and they've been hiring everyone. And he was like, why didn't you go out for it? And although I wanted to be a child care director, my whole career, that was like something I wanted to do. I just was like, well, maybe they won't accept me. So he encouraged me to be like, won't you go and do it? So I gave in my application, and at the time it was a church preschool, and the pastor said to me, I was waiting for your application. And
He
so just
believed in you more than you believed in you. And that's the thing. It's the questions that you ask. Like I said at the beginning of this interview, you have the negative, you have the positive. Feed the positive. You're always going to have the negative. And to think that you're going to do anything in this life, anything, I'm talking parent, relationship, business, whatever, weight loss, health, if you think that you're going to do it without failing, you're wrong. It's part of it. It's how you look at it. If you don't try something, if you don't work at something, like I said, you live in this recluse. You have to look at failure as part of it. Like, yeah, of course that happened. Okay, now what can I learn? Again, it's just switching. It's feeding the positive wolf over the negative wolf and being like, okay, this happened. Now, some failures are bigger than others. I have a whole podcast on it. I interview people and their failures. I mean, we're talking like people like $500,000 down the drain, bankrupt. I mean, like big stuff. Like this isn't like, oh, I spent $5,000 on a course and it didn't work out. We're talking like, I just interviewed a guy yesterday and he literally $500,000 in a business and walked away from it because it wasn't aligned with him. So that happens. And he could have just curled up in a ball and been like, I'm done. And he was like, no, I'm still going to find my purpose. I'm still going to find my passion. Persistence, I think, is the number one skill set that separates winners from wannabes. And if you want to win at anything in life, you have to be persistent. And resiliency is right behind there because you have to bounce back and figure out a way and do it faster because otherwise you're going to like get run over. But just to persevere, to get up and dust yourself off and be like, I'm going to do this again and it's going to be different. And if I learn from it and look at the people and join the groups and get the education that I need, even if it's free. Now, I will tell you, the more that you pay, the higher and the faster you're going to go. And I'm not saying that so you buy a program of mine or Taniko's or whoever. It's the truth. Like it's a truth people don't want to hear because they live in scarcity. And so they're like, I don't want to. And you're just selling me. And we're so bamboozled by marketers all the time. But the good ones that will up level you, that live a life or have that energy or whatever you're gravitated towards, even if they're bad, because I have bought some bad 5-figure programs. Like they were really good marketers and I just have a belief in people and I'm like, okay, I'll buy your program. And they're kind of jerky about it and stuff. And so, I mean, I bought them, but I choose even in that program to find a benefit, to hold on to it and say, what did I learn not to do? What by spending that money or releasing that money, it got me to work. Cause I was like, oh, I'm not going to spend that and not do anything. Like that's going to light the fire. Finding the good in that, AKA failure, so that you move forward one extra step today, tomorrow, and beyond. But focus on right now, today. Is it spending $39 for a program when you literally are like almost on food stamps, or finding a creditor and taking out a credit card and jumping in full force and doing what that program told you to do to make money? If you are someone who longs for like extra finances, which I think we all are, because hello, like if you have kids, like in this world, they're expensive. I got 5 girls, everybody, like we are, like it is expensive from the time they're born until they get married. Like it's expensive, but it's expensive. I say that word loosely because I actually don't usually say that word. It is because expensive is relative, right? Money releases a lot. Let me say that with girls. We release a lot of money with girls. I won't even say expensive. I'll say we release a lot of money with girls. Yes. And so I need some coming back to me, right? I need to like catch some and so I can release some. And so I have to get to work and I have to figure out how I can add value to people. And I know my skill set, I know my knowledge. I mean, I'm 38 years old. I've been through some stuff. I don't care if you're even 21 years old, you've been through some stuff. At age 21, I had been through an alcoholic sister, an autoimmune mom. I had definitely better speak experience now, but then I spoke with eloquence because that was a gift that was given to me from God. And so but I didn't know my worth. And I thought I had to be older. I had to do these things. So I just hit him and was like, okay, you have gifts. The world needs them. Figure out how to monetize it. And in our day and age, it's not that hard. It really isn't.
No, you have to really just do it. You have to just say, hey,
Yeah.
this is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to do it. And I love that you talk about persistency, because one of the affirmations I listen to is called Do It Again. And it says, persistence makes the all time greats. And so that is what it is. And you can't just, you got to fix yourself and do it again, even when it's hard, even when it feels like I can't give anymore. I can't do anymore. I'm trying for this dream to come true. You just have to do it again. You have to
Yeah.
keep trying. You have to keep moving. And you can't look at what you're giving, but you got to look at that goal, the anticipation of what you're going to get when you release, as you said, when you release something. What is it that I'm going to get? Because when you release something, you're automatically going to get something back. And it
Yep.
all depends on how you perceive it, how you anticipate what you're going to get back. And so I always tell people, one of these exercises, I always do tell them to close your eyes. And what does your typical day look like?
Mm-hmm.
Not if you had any limitations, and that's what you're supposed to be doing. But
Yep.
sometimes we're even afraid to dream that big because we want those things. It's naturally a part of us. But then there's those things that, like I said, you touch the hot stove and you don't want to go back. You're afraid to even think that that's possible for you. You'll say,
Right.
yes, possible for somebody else. It might be possible for Tab, or it might be
Yep.
possible for someone else, but is that possible for you? But
Right.
it really is possible if you keep working hard. And so that's the thing. Not trading time for money, but working hard on developing yourself, knowing your worth, knowing that you're worthy of having the things you dream about. Because if you don't think you're worthy, guess what? You're really 9 times out of 10 not going to accomplish that goal. Someone
No.
can believe in you all day long. They can tell
Yep.
you how great you are, how wonderful you are. And guess what happens? If you don't feel you're great,
Yeah.
they can tell you a million years and it won't mean anything.
Because people can sense what you feel. And I encourage you, even replacing the word hard, we were wired to work. Like God put Adam and Eve to be on this earth and to work because he knew by working you would build your character. He didn't put them on earth to work for money because everything was given freely to them. So they didn't need money when they first were on earth. But from the beginning of Genesis, it says God put them on to work the land. So why would we work? Just for money? No, to build our character. So instead of saying like, I got to work hard, I got to work hard, I got to work hard. Cause I know women on here, we're the rabbit wheel. Like we'll work hard, we'll do this. If I work to enjoy, if I work to joy, if I work for patience and taking that hard, because people don't work, we don't want hard. Like nobody really wants hard because we want to preserve all our energy, right? For the things that we love. And
Right.
so those nights when I would stay up and listen to like anybody and anything with like Brian Tracy, Tony Robbins, like Dean Graziosi, when I would listen to those guys, I was working, but I loved it. Like I was working on myself. When I go to the gym, I'm working. And yeah, I mean, I'll say I work hard a little bit, but like I'm working to develop my mind and develop my body. And I can't go into the gym after having a baby when your stomach's out to here, your muscles are like all ripped to shreds and everything. I can't go into the gym 6 weeks after I have my daughter and think I can do a 30-minute nonstop Pilates class and I'm going to have six-pack abs the next day. I have to like do what I can feel that, feel the working, and then I have to recover and I have to love myself. And then I come back and it hurts a little bit. It does hurt a little. And then you work a little bit more and then you recover and you find it. And even in the hurt, it feels good at the same time. And I think that so many people have these negative connotations about like, you got to work hard, you got to hustle, you got to grind, you got to be exhausted. And I encourage you, no, no, no. It's not about like working harder. It's not even necessarily about working smarter. It's just working to that joy. It's working to find your gifts. It's working to build your character. And we develop that character through wisdom, and we develop that character through hurt. And how much can I recover faster through that hurt? I'm building that muscle up. So the next time I don't just need 5-pound dumbbells, I need 8, but I'm not going to go up to 50. I'm not going to go from 5 pounds to 50. I'm going to rip those muscles. I'm going to be out for months. So let me just go forward. So if you're someone who wants to start a business, don't join a 5-figure business company or like coaching company. Okay. Start off slow, release the money for a course that's going to teach you what you need, the fundamentals, then receive some money that's going to help your confidence, going to help your self-worth. And then you release it again, and then you receive it and you release it. I mean, I wanted a 7-figure company back in 2018. And God said, no, 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 no. Like, you're not ready for that. If he gave me the business that I wanted when I did it, it would have broke me and I would have been out. And so I'm trusting the process as we build it up. My husband and I, we build a real estate portfolio. It's over $1 million worth of real estate, which in rural Nebraska is a lot of real estate. Now, if we were in California, that'd be like one house. But like here, like that's a lot of properties. That's a lot. We've flipped and we've done all sorts of things. And God finally told me it's time to double that in the next 3 years. Okay. Yes, sir. Yes, and amen. I'm going to do that because now I know we're ready. But 3 years ago, 5 years ago, we wouldn't have been ready. We're ready to help families do the same thing. 2019, I wanted to. We weren't ready. Now we're ready. And so we have the skills to teach other people that. So wherever you're at is perfect. Know where you're at and trust that process.
Yeah, trusting the process is such like we say it sometimes and we say it so loosely, but it really is, you have to trust the process. You're not going to start off, you know, um, where you see the vision. It's like you're going to have to work. You're going to have to develop, as you said, those muscles.
Yep.
There's a lot that comes along with having a big business. The bigger the tax bracket, the more things you need. You're going to need tax lawyers. You're going to need insurance. You're going to need people that you need to trust, know, like, and trust to run your business, that work beside you. And I always tell people, you have to find who is the people that's supposed to work beside you. Who are those people? Who are those individuals you want to bring in your life? And right now, it may be one person, and you may be working together with a partner, and then soon it's 3, and then maybe it's 5, and then you keep growing. As you said, you release and you learn a little bit, and then you release again and you keep growing. But sometimes I think the process of the growing is, it sometimes take longer because we have to be developed in so many different areas for this big dream and this big vision that we have. Even if you have this vision of, hey, being a great mom and helping your children to be financially stable, financially literate, just to be great citizens in society, you have to work really hard to not project your past, your trauma onto them, that will in turn hold them back. And I
Yep.
was just talking to someone about that, and we're talking about what they call mother wounds. And it's because you want to, sometimes you don't have the autonomy and freedom. And so sometimes your daughter or your son may have this big dream, and you'll tell them, well, I don't know if you want to do that. You need to be a little
Yep.
careful. And so
Yep.
what you're doing is you're just projecting that scarcity, you're projecting your fears
Yep.
of failure, or you can't, of something that you may not have accomplished, upon your children. And so I'm definitely, really adamant about, listen, You want your children to go as far as they can go, and do not stop them because of the trauma, the hurt, the
Yep.
falls that you may have recovered from faster. But you're there as they're recovering to help them. And so you just need to push them as far as they can go to accomplish whatever it is that they want to accomplish. And I think we sometimes, I'll say we, those that are 30 and 40, you know, these Gen Zers are just a whole different breed because the millennials are like our age, but Gen Zs, they just are different. They're gonna
Yep.
go after something. They're gonna get them a coach. Where we were afraid to get a coach, they're gonna get a coach. They're going to find a way to develop
Yep.
themselves. They want to feel good about what they're doing. And if something doesn't feel good, they're not gonna do it.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
being able to be that person, you got to do the inner work in yourself so that you won't start um, causing your legacy to be the same. Don't cause it to
Yeah.
be in that same space. You want it to grow, to flourish. You want to be able to leave a legacy for your children and your children's children. But when you're projecting your fears to cause them not to dream, you're actually diminishing that legacy. You're not really helping it because you want them to go further and
Yeah.
further than you've ever gone.
Yes.
So I want to ask you a question about, you said you started your real estate, you're in rural Nebraska in college. What did that look like?
Well, like I said, my husband had helped his dad. His dad, when my husband was 16, his dad had cows because he was a farmer and he had cows and he hated the cows. Like the cows are, if anybody's a rancher, which probably not, but like the cows are stubborn, it's horrible. So he sold all the cows and he bought some rental properties. And my husband would go and work on the properties and like help renovate them. And he kind of saw that, and then he saw that vision. So when we were in college, we were big, like that's when the reality TV of like house flipping really came about, like it was the early 2000s. And so we would watch these shows and I just was into it. And we love making old things look new. And so, we're like looking at the shows. And so he wanted to buy a house and live in it and then have other people live in it to pay his rent, and we saw it as a way, like if he started this, then for our, like I said, our retirement, because we knew we were going to get married and have kids. And so I was like, yeah, sure. So like we painted it and we put like crown molding up and we did all this stuff. And I'll never forget, after the first year, like the renters just destroyed all my pretty work. And I was so just like, ah. So we learned a lot of things about what to do, not what not to do. And he shortly bought his second house when we were in college. And it was just, he's the numbers guy. So he kind of knew the numbers. And I would, we'd get tenants in there and we just clean, I was kind of like, we'd make it look decent. And because we wanted good properties, because we wanted a good name for ourselves, because a lot of ours was for referrals. And so we just made things look pretty and did that. And when we got married, we just like accumulated properties. My mindset was not, I was in lack. So like, even with the houses, I was like, we didn't have a property manager. My husband did everything. We did everything. So like, we didn't have the right mentorship when we first started to like hire the right people and have it be time freedom. It was kind of like a time shackle. And so when we started having kids and he would have to go and work on these properties, I'd be pissed. Like, I'll be honest. And like, by that time we had like 3, 4, 5 properties. And I was like, and then he was also help managing his father's, and his father had over 15 properties and like at least 5 dwellings in each. So, I mean, that's a lot of people. That's a lot of stuff that he was helping. So he was helping him and ours. And so in the beginning, the enemy knew my lack. So he's like, oh yeah, that's horrible. That's horrible. So like, we didn't have the right mentorship. We'd look into courses and there was just nobody out there. It was very male heavy and like real estate business and wholesaling and, all this aggressive stuff. And I just was like, no, 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 that's not what I want. Like, okay. And so I never bought any courses in that area because I couldn't find something that I was like, thought was valuable until I got into a group 3 years ago. And it was actually to help teach my speaking, but I was with other people who were like high 6 and 7 figure earners, and they were talking a little bit more about real estate. And then I was kind of like, let's go all in. And then we went to a mastermind in December, and there was another gal there, and she just like blew my mind with real estate, like just blew it off. And I was already like, we're doing this, we want to do this. And my heart was for helping other families do this, to buy their first income property. Because when we would go to these places, I mean, even like high level masterminds, people would be like, oh, we've always wanted to do that. And I'm like, well, why haven't you? And they'd be like, well, I don't know. And it just seems risky. And like they'd have all these excuses. And I'm like, it's really not. It's like the safest way to invest. And all millionaires invest in real estate because they know it's like the safest, easiest way to invest. And real estate's not going away. You know, stocks and stuff, like that's great. But like unless you know the numbers and you're really smart in that, it's really hard. And so this is kind of the path of least resistance, which I'm all about. So we just wanted to make something really simple for like people who are entrepreneurs who don't necessarily want this as like a real estate business yet. Like they just want to buy a couple houses to see what it's like to have some cash flow positive, and they have families and they want to build a wealth legacy. And then with that, I said, how about we help teach families like success principles for kids, and we bring their kids in and we can like family mastermind, and the kids can even mastermind. And even in like maybe the kids like want to make a business together or, you know, do that together and have it be this family vision instead of taking that entrepreneur away from their family, because you don't want to buy one more thing to take you away from your family. You want to do it so you have time freedom for your family. So that was the one great thing that my husband and I did, is that we always brought our kids. So when we'd renovate stuff, like I talk about him leaving and going and doing stuff, that was more like if it was a late night, like he needed to go fix a pipe that busted or something, like, and that didn't happen a lot. But we took the kids with us. Like if we had a clean out of a property or like we were renovating something, we'd bring the kids with us. And if you go on my Facebook, you'll see pictures of my kids, like, you know, hammering and painting and doing stuff. So we made it a family vision, and we always brought the kids in on our vision. So when they were young, they didn't know what 7 figures was. They're like, what's that? I don't, whatever. But they knew what Disney World was. And so it was like, okay, we're doing this. And, you know, we have that family vision. We're all going to go to Disney World. And guess what? Like when we accomplish this, or they would have goals, like they'd have certain chores and different things that they had to do. And you get to pick out your own mini ears. And like, they were so excited. And I'll never forget when my daughters got to go and pick out their mini ears, because before we lived in such scarcity that like, we didn't buy anything. If we did go to Disney World, that was the thing. We didn't buy anything extra. We packed our own lunches. We didn't eat there, nothing. Like the trip was it. And I know some of your listeners are like, yeah, us too. And we wanted to plan a trip for them, and they could go and buy, because they always wanted the mini ears, you know, and they're not expensive. They're like $20. Like, but I lived in such scarcity that $20 times 3 kids was like, you know, $60. And I was like, holy God, you know? And so we planned that, and they got to go pick their ears out. And I remember we went to all these different stores, and they were so excited because they were brought in on the vision. See, kids want to be brought in on the vision. And so if mommy and daddy have to go away for a while, it's okay because they can see the vision. When you don't teach your kids that, when you don't teach them the part of working, and it's not just hard working, it's we're working for this, we're working for God's purpose, we're working for impact and those things. They're left, all they know is what I knew, that my dad was gone all the time. He must not love me, because time equals love. That's not how any parent feels. We all love our kids. And so if we can show them a vision and make them a part of the vision. And so that's where this all came about. The Family Legacy Project is to help families take the leap, buy their first income property and multiple after that if they choose, and also bringing the family in, showing them, hey, we're doing this to build wealth, but we're also going to teach you the characteristics of what it takes to build a business, build wealth, real estate, whatever, so that when mommy and daddy die, which will happen, I mean, you don't have to say it like that, but when we're gone, the wealth isn't gone. Second, or by third generation, 90% of wealth is gone. If you do not teach your kids certain characteristics, by statistics show by third generation, the wealth is gone. The business is gone. How many businesses go under because the founder did not show the vision
Mhm.
to the family to connect that wealth, to build that wealth for years to come? And entrepreneurs are very now focused, which is great, but like we have to also look at our generations and our kids. That's why we have kids. That's we want to spend time with them. And so it's just a group of like-minded people. We give resources, trainings. We're launching in the month of May, and so it's all fresh and new. But I have experts in like tax strategy, so you don't have to get overwhelmed. Like, when do you need an LLC? Do you need an LLC? What do you need to tell your tax accountant? What kind of house do I buy? What area do I like? All those questions you get to ask in real time, and I think that's so important to take the plunge to buy that property and to know when things come up. You have counsel, you have other like-minded people where you can go in the group and be like, hey, I had a contractor that quoted me this, but like, is this a scam? Or what, I'm in this area, does anybody have any good plumber? Just little things that like we didn't have, and a direction to take us and say, hey, I'm thinking about buying our second property, should we, and being that cheerleader. Or, hey, this third property came up, is this a good deal? To have the people around to really root you on and move you forward is, that's worth so much.
Yes, it truly is. Just to have that support, because you have so many questions, and just to have a group of individuals who walked this road before that can say, "Hey, no, I think you need to go this way." It helps you not to have those disappointments. Not that you may not have disappointments, but when you have them, you have someone, that happened to us too. Guess what? We're going to do it again. Or that
Exactly.
happened with my third
Yep.
property, or it happened.
You're going to do it again. Yeah. It's like brush it off, because you have other people when you live in your own head, which is what we did for 10 years. There was 10 years where, yeah, we bought properties, but it was slow and it was painful. And there was a lot of tension in our marriage where I kept saying, we need a mentor, we need a coach in this. Like, we don't know this. And he was kind of dragging his feet. And if we had a group like this where couples and families can come together, I know we would have went there faster, but I don't worry about that. That's why I was created to have this group. Like, that's why I was made to create this group. So people can, go there 10 times faster than we did. Honestly. And then as we grow too, because we're still growing, we want other people to come with us. And so like, if we have good deals and we want to do syndications or whatever, we want to bring that opportunity to people in real time with trust and be like, hey, we're doing this. And this is what we did. And like teach people, like, we've never done like big like apartment units, and that's what we're going to do. We've never done storage units. We're looking at building one and buying out one this year. We've never done commercial. We're doing commercial. We want to share with people like our experiences so that if they want to do that, they can do it faster than we did. And I think that's so valuable because it's in real time. I'm not some guru that already has $1 billion worth of real estate and I'm just like, invest with me. Like, I'm like, dude, we're figuring it out. And I have a tax strategist here and I have, my banker on here, and, we're doing these things in real time. So that's a trust factor. And then, oh, we did this, and guys, don't do that. That was a bad deal. Like, don't make that mistake. Right. And
Yes.
so it's like, okay. And you can trust that. And that's what I want. I want it to feel like a family. Even if we have like 1,000 families, like that's my goal, is to have 1,000 people in this, 1,000 families in this group. Cause I feel like it really could be the ripple effect, because when you give your kids this, guys, it ripples effect. Like you said, this Gen Z or whatever. Is it Gen Z now? I don't know. Gen Z.
Yeah,
Like,
Gen Z and Alpha, yeah.
okay, so all these names, I don't even know. Okay. So like, when we can do that for these kids and like teach them that, they have the resources, but also the foundation. Because we are a world of instant gratification, and our kids live in the world of instant gratification. Amazon can be here the next day on my phone. Why aren't they responding? We have to teach them those things. And yes, church is great. And yes, of course, God is first. We have to teach, but we have to be present in what they're present in. And they are Instagram and they are TikTok and you can't just bury your head in the sand and make it go away. So we have to build that as parents for kids. And like my one daughter, my second oldest, she wants to start an online business and she doesn't know what that looks like, but she's excited. And I want to get her around other kids that are like, yeah, me too. And maybe pitch it to the adults as like a Shark Tank thing, or whatever, but like just do it in a way that's fun. And like, we're going to have little leaderboards where different families can do different things to get on the leaderboard, and then they get prizes, and just bringing the joy back into entrepreneurship and real estate investing. Because I'll be honest, when you even say real estate investing or like financial literacy, those are boring. Like, those are boring terms. Kids don't want to learn about them. Half adults don't want to learn about them, right? Like, who wants to be a financial literate? Like, no, I want to be a millionaire. That's way sexier, right? And like, we all know that it's about financial literacy. We all know those things, but like, we have to make it in a way that kids want to learn. And again, bringing it into the family and knowing that kids aren't always going to just jump up and down like, yay, this is what I want, like, especially teenagers. But when you can plant those seeds and water it and like have third party credibility in other families. And my big vision is to get all together at least once a year in a big mastermind where we're all together, and then maybe we do a day at Disney or something, but like our kids can meet and the adults can meet, and we can bring in experts and all be together and collaborate and really have a ripple effect of wealth and what wealth means. It's more than just money, but what that can do in changing the view of money and cutting off ties of scarcity and using it for good, which is what God wants.
Yes, that is so great. So tell us how to be a part of this group. If you're here and you've always wanted to do real estate investing and you're like, you know what, I want this to be my family legacy. I want to get the children in. We're all in this together. How
Yes.
can
Well,
they?
if you're someone, and I'm pretty sure this will air still in May, but May
Mhm.
is our launch month, and the first 35 members are going to get a membership price that is incredible, because it's like 60% off. Like, it's crazy. And your grandfather into that as long as you stay in the program. And we help you buy your first income property within 90 days. We give you a blueprint, but then also just in the group, collaborating, meeting other people, like-minded people that will up level in all areas, not just real estate. I want to make that clear, like all areas, but we give you strategic plans for real estate. We give you strategic plans for success principles that you can teach your kids. And then as everything develops and people come in the group, we're going to have more masterminds and Q&A sessions where in real time you can ask those things. And so you want to be one of those first 35 members because you want to lock in that price. Like, I promise you that, and you will not regret it. And so I'll put the link of the group in there, but also Keep Legacy Wealth, and we'll put the link in here. That's the webpage that we have with information and all, like a free resource for things that we look for when we do an income property. Cause I know that's always something. It's like, what do you look for? And what do you do? And there's 5 simple things that you look for when you're doing a real estate property. So, and that'll get you on our email list. So if anything comes up, the different specials, different things on the group or other freebies, I love giving free. Like, I do. My website, Tab Thorell, has all the free resources I've ever created for health, wellness, relationship, anything. You can get all the free resources there as well. I love seeing people succeed. And I know that when you invest and release the money into different programs and courses, you're more likely to show up. You're more likely to be engaged and do the things that you need to move forward. And trust that. Don't live in that scarcity mindset that says, oh, all they want is money. Guys, like, I am married to my high school sweetheart. I have 5 amazing kids. We're in real estate. Like, we can make money. Like, my husband farms. Like, we've done different businesses. I really have a mission here to move forward. And yes, create wealth. Like, absolutely. This is a business, but it's a heart-centered business where we can help other people win. And I want you to win. I want your family to win. I want your kids to win. I want to meet your kids. I want to send them things. Like, I love to do that. My kids, all of it. And my girls, like, they love kids. And so we want our families to be one and really feel like this is home. And so keeplegacywealth.com. You can join the group. There'll be a link. It's in the school community is where we are housed. And like I said, you want to lock in that price because you'll be grandfathered in, whether it goes up to, 4 or 5 figures, whatever. Like, you're going to be locked into this price. And you can always, I have no, like, you have to stay in the group for a year. Like, you can join for a month and you'll get so much value out of that first investment. It's crazy. Because I could sell this as a course for easily $5,000 because my competitors are doing the same thing. But I don't want a course. I don't want you just to take a course. because studies show, what is it, like 90% of people who buy courses don't finish the courses.
Yeah.
I want you to finish the race. I want you to win. So when you're in the group, I'm going to kick your behind a little bit and be like, hey, have you bought that property? Hey, are you going to do this thing? I'm going to give you a little nudge out of the nest here to buy that property, because that's what you need. And there's enough free resources online. So like, if you want free, awesome. There's some great gurus out there. But if you truly want to buy an income property and invest in your family's wealth, join this program.
Amazing. I'm excited about this program, and I'm excited about just everything you shared, Tab. It was such a pleasure having
Yes,
you
thank you
on.
so much. This has
You're
been fun.
so you're so amazing. Just seeing the pictures of your girls and your family. You got to check out our podcast. It is amazing. She's always dropping knowledge, always dropping great things. So it was amazing having you on the Queen's Couch, just sharing how you navigated business and motherhood. Is amazing that you wanted to be that dominant voice. So you found the business that will work for you, and not only you, but your whole family is a part of this business, which is amazing. And so it's truly not only a legacy of wealth with money, but just a rich legacy of giving back, of building family, community, and it does take a village. And so, definitely, this program is all about building that, helping your children to know how important it is. And they might not, as you said, they may not understand seven figures, but they're
Yep.
going to understand it's time to go to Disney World, or hey, I'm working towards getting my first car, or I'm working towards, getting this bag I want. Everyone's into the Kurt Geiger. They might own them a Kurt Geiger pair of shoes, so they might be working
I
towards
know.
those things, right? But you're doing it as a family, and they won't feel that their mom or their dad is taken away from them when they're building and they're working. They're realizing that we're in this together, and I know what we're doing. So guess what? He might be away for a few moments, but guess what? I know he loves me because we're working towards this goal as a family goal. And so that's so unique. It's so important because sometimes all we do is see our parents work growing up. And so we just thought that's what we had to do. And that
Yep.
we didn't know anything about the business. Sometimes, like you said, by the second or third generation, it's gone. You
Yep.
know, I've had uncles that had stores and laundromats and different things like that.
Mhm.
But the grandchildren, they don't want that business because all they remember is they weren't there. That took
Yep.
them away. The one thing that they despise, they don't want to be a part of it. And so when you're bringing the kids in, you're keeping your legacy going for years and generations. So thank you so much, Tab. If you
It's
have
been my
any words to say to my audience, definitely do that. And we're going to say a few announcements. And we're thanking you so much for being here tonight.
No, I mean, honestly, you are worth it. And you have the resources and you have what's inside of you. Feed the positive wolf. The negative wolf is only going to eat you alive. And the world needs your gifts. That's the thing. Like, the world needs your gifts. And when you can use your gifts and then invest that into your kids, I mean, it's a game changer. And so realize what you're doing right now has the ripple effect, whether that's good or whether that's bad. And so you want to be part of the good ripple effect of positivity and forgiving yourself. Ladies, you have to learn to forgive yourself. We are who we are with the best of our ability right now. So if you did something, if you raised your voice, if you lost the money, if you hurt your husband, whatever, forgive yourself. Ask for forgiveness if it was with somebody else. I'm always asking my kids for forgiveness. Like, I'm sorry I did this, right? Forgive others and release that negative energy and just feed the positive wolf.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Tab. It's been amazing having you on. Thank you so much, guys, for being on the Queen's Couch on this episode as we talked about navigating business and motherhood with amazing Tabitha. And guess what? We will be back next week where we'll be talking about motherhood, but we'll be talking about mother wounds. Are your mother wounds causing you to be single? So we're
That's a good one.
would be a good one. And so thank you so much. I'm excited. And we will see you back next week at 7 p.m. on the Queen's Couch. Thank you so much, Tab, for having me on the show tonight. Have a great one. Bye bye, guys. We'll see you next week.